So a useful extension of linear regression analysis is could be the case when our function could be dependent on two or more variables, say x1 and x2. So for example, this function may be of the form y equals a0 plus a1 x1 plus a2 x2 plus some error term. So this, remember, is describing our data points. So that's why we always include our error term here. So as with our previous case where we looked at polynomial regression, we could derive a similar expression to calculate the multilinear regression approximation. So we know from our regression analysis that the sum of squares of the residuals is equal to sum from I equals 1 to n of our error term, in this case y of I minus a0 minus a1 x1I minus a2 x2I all squared. Okay, so slight difference in that I'm referring to a term here, x1I. Now what am I talking about when I write down the value x1I? Well, we know that we are trying to approximate all of our data points, and we say that there are n data points, by this linear function. So our error is obviously going to be, there's going to be an error for each individual point, and that is what this I stands for. So we have an x1 and an x2 value for each data point in the range from 1 to n. Okay, so just like before, if we find the derivative with respect to each one of these coefficients, that is the partial derivative of SR with A0, A1, and A2, we can come up with the following matrix or set of equations. That is n sum x1I sum x2I sum x1I sum of x1I squared sum x1I multiplied by x2I sum of x2I sum of x1I x2I and sum of x2I squared, and that's going to be equal to our vector sum yi sum of x1I multiplied by yi sum of x2I multiplied by yi. Okay, so what does this term mean here? The sum of x1I. Well, we are summing n x1 values because we have n data points. So x1 is going to be repeated n times. That is very different from saying there are n dependent n degrees of freedom, for example. Say instead of there just being x1 and x2, we could have x1 to xn. We are now saying there is only 2 degrees of freedom here, x1 and x2, and we are summing those two coordinate values for each nth data point.